I never expected this beautiful love story would break my heart and change my life forever. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. It was a Tuesday, an ordinary day that spiraled into chaos. The sun poured through my window, spilling its golden warmth on my bed, but it felt cold. My heart raced, echoing in the silence of the room. I felt it then, a creeping sense of dread, like a dark cloud hovering above me. It was the day he ghosted me. Andrew was the type of guy who lit up a room. With his infectious laugh and enchanting smile, he made me feel alive. We shared our dreams under the stars, whispered secrets into the night, and it felt like magic. I could still taste the salt from the ocean air as we strolled hand in hand along the beach. But the magic shattered that day. I texted, called, and all I got in return was an empty silence that gnawed at my gut. Memories flooded my mind. Our shared laughter. The way his eyes sparkled when he talked about art. How he pulled me close when the waves crashed against the shore. The ache in my chest grew heavier. I could still smell his cologne on my pillow, a scent that used to comfort me, but now only made the tears spill down my cheeks. I felt utterly lost. What had changed? Had I said something wrong? I tried to piece together the moments leading to that silence. But the more I thought, the more questions arose. Was it something I did, or was he just gone? Voices around me faded into whispers as I spiraled deeper. My best friend Jenna noticed, her brow furrowed in concern. "Are you okay?" she asked, but I couldn't answer. How do you explain heartbreak when your world's just crumbled? That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. A million scenarios played in my mind. Maybe he met someone new. Maybe he got scared. My heart thudded painfully against my ribcage. Was love really that fickle? I felt powerless, thrumming with frustration and longing. I reached for my phone, hoping against hope that he would message me. But nothing. Just the weight of unspoken words. Then it happened. My phone buzzed, jarring me from my despair. My heart skipped. Was it him? My hands trembled as I picked it up. It wasn't Andrew. It was a notification about a photo of him with someone else. I clenched my teeth, a storm inside me raging. Who was she? I felt my heart sink further, an icy grip around it that I couldn't help but wonder why hadn't he just told me? Why ghost me and then flaunt this new life? I needed answers, but deep down, I knew this wasn't just about him. It was about me too. What did I really want? Was this love worth the pain? As I grappled with the sting of betrayal, I looked out the window into the dark night. Stars twinkled like distant dreams, and I felt a glimmer of hope. Would I find my way back? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. The days that followed felt like drifting in a dense fog, my heart a weight in my chest that never quite lifted. I moved through life like a ghost, trapped in a translucent shell of my own making. Jenna tried to pull me back into the world, suggesting outings and movie nights, but I often turned her down. Each laughter in the air felt like a cruel reminder of what I lost, and I couldn't bear the thought of pretending. One late afternoon, when the sun dipped low and painted the sky with hues of orange and pink, Jenna dropped by unannounced. She found me on the couch, curled up with a blanket, wrapped in a cocoon of self-pity. "We need to talk," she said, sitting beside me. Her eyes held a blend of determination and concern. "I can't." "Jenna," I whispered, my voice cracking under the weight of despair. "I just can't." "You can't shut everyone out," she insisted gently. "You deserve to feel something other than pain. Come on, let's go for ice cream, just like we used to." A small, almost forgotten part of me stirred at the suggestion. The idea of eating cold, creamy sweetness lifted my spirits just a little. Maybe the break from my mindless dwelling would allow a spark of life back in. I took a deep breath, sitting up. "Okay, ice cream sounds nice." That we walked to a nearby shop, the crisp evening breeze brushing against my skin, bringing with it the familiar scent of fresh waffle cones. The world outside felt alive, but inside me, a battle continued to rage. As we ordered our treat, I watched people coming and going, couples holding hands, laughter echoing as they leaned into one another. It felt like each joy was a punch to the gut, but I swallowed hard and reminded myself that I was trying to heal. Jenna chatted about her day, about her new cat, and how she wanted to paint her room a vivid shade of turquoise. As I listened, I felt my heart flutter a little, just a tad of warmth amidst the shadows. Laughter eventually bubbled over as I recounted a funny incident from our college days. It felt good to be reminded of who I used to be before heartbreak defined me. As we walked back home, the sun began to set, casting an ethereal glow across the street. Jenna turned to me, her expression solemn. "I know it might not seem like it now, but you're going to get through this. You're so strong. And this isn't the end of your story." Before I could respond, a familiar face flashed through my mind, a face I had tried desperately to erase. But the vision came crashing back, raw and painful. Andrew's laughter, the way he used to look at me, everything I could no longer touch. I could feel the walls of my strength crumbling, and my defiance against my heart shattered as a few tears slipped past my defenses. "I don't know if I can move on," I confessed, my voice trembling. What if he was the one? Before Jenna could answer, my phone buzzed again. We both froze, eyes widening. My heart raced. Was it him? My chest tightened as I reached for my phone, hopes flaring like wildfire only to be extinguished when I saw it was a message from an unknown number. I opened it, confused. "Hey, it's Lily. I think we need to talk." The name hit me like a freight train. My heart sank with understanding. It was Andrew's sister, someone I had only met a couple of times. There was no doubt I wanted to hear what she had to say, but panic gripped me at the unknown. Before I could process the implications, Jenna's voice broke through the haze. "Who is it? It's Lily." My voice barely rose above a whisper. "Do you want to reply?" A part of me screamed for clarity, to reach out to the familiar warmth I had lost. I looked at Jenna, her concern replaced by an urgency akin to my own. "What if she wants to talk about Andrew? Then speak your truth. You deserve to know," she encouraged softly, her eyes conveying the comfort of understanding. With trembling fingers, I typed back a simple response, my heart racing with each moment. I pressed send, a single decision that could lead down an entirely new path. And as the sun dipped below the horizon, I realized I was standing on the precipice of something that could change everything again. But the uncertainty loomed heavy like the encroaching night, leaving me with a chilling sense of dread. Would I find more heartbreak awaiting me? Or could this be a road leading back to a piece of the happiness I thought I'd lost forever? All I knew was that I might soon have answers. But would they be the ones I sought? Or would they unravel yet another layer of my heart? The next few hours tiptoed by, stretching the minutes into a tense silence that enveloped me. My phone lay next to me like a loaded gun, each vibration sending a jolt through my body. I kept staring at it, willing it to come to life with a new message, but it remained ominously still. The quiet in my apartment felt colossal, wrapping its tendrils around my thoughts and amplifying my insecurities. Jenna tried to lighten the mood with another attempt at humor, her best impressions of our old friends from college. Those carefree days of laughter before everything shifted. I smiled, perhaps even chuckled a few times, but the echoes of the past wove a bittersweet thread through each chuckle. Eventually, I caught a glimpse of Jenna's face shift from playful to concerned as she watched the furrow deepen on my brow. "Anxiety is just excitement without breath," she said softly, an attempt to ease my mounting worry. But this wasn't mere excitement. This was the tremor of potential devastation, the threat of opening wounds I had shoved deep into the corners of my heart. "I just wish I could see this through," I admitted, letting out a sigh heavy with the weight of indecision. "What if she tells me something I can't handle?" "Then you handle what you can," she encouraged again, her warmth anchoring me a little in the whirlwind of spiraling emotions. "Whatever it is, you'll take it one step at a time." The clock on the wall ticked, a bitter reminder of time. Just as Jenna reached for her phone to check the news, my phone buzzed, a jarring break in the stillness. I snatched it up as if it were the last lifeline, my heart racing as I opened Lily's message. "Can we meet tomorrow? I have some things I think you should know." Fear punctuated each word. Knowing I'd have to face someone who carried pieces of Andrew's life felt akin to stepping off the edge of a precipice into the unknown. There was so much I didn't understand. A dozen questions battled for space in my mind. Would meeting with Lily bring me solace? Or would it only serve to drag me deeper into the heartbreak? Are you okay? Jenna's voice dripped with concern as she leaned closer, her instinctual empathy shining through the shadows hanging around me. I don't know. She wants to meet. I stared at my phone, the screen still glowing like a beacon of uncertainty. What do I even say? What if she wants to blame me? What if I don't want to hear what she has to tell me? Maybe it's not about blame. Maybe she just needs to talk to someone who loved him too. Jenna touched my arm gently, and for a brief moment, I allowed myself to believe that the connection we shared with Andrew could bridge a gap too wide for me to fathom. I guess I don't want to hurt anymore, I replied, the truth spilling out with every breath. Jenna smiled softly. Then go. Seek the truth, whatever it is. You might surprise yourself. The edge of my lips edged up slightly at her unwavering belief in me. What if I can't? Then I'll be right there with you, she said, squeezing my hand. And for an instant, I wished I could simply lean into her support and let the rest fall away, but I was still tethered to the weight of unknown revelations threatening to climb up and engulf me. The following morning dawned bright, but felt unwelcoming. I dressed in a haze, drowning out the anxiety swirling inside with mindless preparation. The cafe where Lily suggested meeting was cozy, the scent of freshly brewed coffee mingling with the sweet scent of pastries filling the air like a masquerade of nostalgia. Anxiety twisted in my stomach like a living thing, making it hard to breathe. When I spotted Lily sitting at a table near the window, her familiar features flickered through a haze of disbelief. Seeing her was like watching a ghost of my memories materialize. It reminded me of Andrew, the shared laughter, the love that radiated through our friendship. But her expression today was not filled with laughter. It wore a heavy shroud of sorrow that betrayed the burdens she carried. Hey, she greeted, her voice steady but tinged with something deeper. Thanks for coming. Of course, I managed to say, my pulse quickening. Each breath felt precious as my heart raced for the impending conversation, emotions ready to spill over as raw and real as the caffeine coursing through my veins. I know this is hard. She looked down, gathering her thoughts, and everything within her seemed to tremble with unspoken truths. I've been meaning to reach out since everything happened. There are things about Andrew that you might not know. About his struggles. The room felt stifling as my heart fell into my stomach. What do you mean? A flicker of pain crossed her face. Andrew, he was battling a lot more than I think you realized. After you too. Her voice cracked, each syllable hanging thick in the air. I think he might have been dealing with things that changed everything for him. Changed? I echoed, my world tilting as a dark shadow crawled over my heart. What do you mean? Just then, her phone buzzed, cutting our conversation short. She glanced at the screen, the color draining from her face. I have to take this, it's about Andrew. The urgency in her voice sent a jolt of ice through my veins. The air around us shivered with uncertainty, a heavy silence settling back in as I processed the implications of what she just intimated. If Andrew had faced struggles, depths of pain I was never privy to, then it felt like the very ground beneath me trembled. Had I been oblivious to his pain, caught in my own grief while he fought an unseen battle? Lily stepped away, and in her absence, I felt the world around me blur into a cascade of confusion and dread. My thoughts churned, desperately grasping at threads of clarity while horror cascaded over me. Everything I knew was beginning to unravel. All that I thought was true suddenly had the taste of ambiguity, of secrets lurking beneath the surface. And then, as the door swung shut behind Lily, my phone buzzed again, this time in direct response to her departure. The screen lit up with a notification from an unknown number, an ominous twist of fate. As my fingers cautiously typed my password, the impending dread drizzled over me like cold rain. What revelation awaited? With a sinking heart, I opened the message and my world began to shatter all over again. My hands trembled as I opened the message, my heart racing in sync with the chaotic flutter of emotions roaring inside me. You don't know me, but I think you should. Andrew has some secrets that need to be told. The words struck like a physical blow, a chaotic storm brewing in the depths of my soul. A wave of sickening dread washed over me. Who was this person, and why did they think Andrew had secrets? Secrets on top of secrets. It was too much to bear. I looked around the cafe, the comforting hum of chatter and the aroma of coffee now shaded with the weight of my unfolding reality. Each conversation around me seemed trivial, naive. Nobody here bore the burden of my heartbreak, my confusion. A part of my mind screamed at me to run, to escape this emotional turmoil, but another part anchored me in place with the desperate need for answers. When Lily returned, the brightness in her eyes was gone, eclipsed by something heavier, an emotional anchor weighing her down. "Sorry about that," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Can we continue?" "About what you were saying before?" I asked, though the urgency of the unknown message clawed at my insides. "You said Andrew was struggling." Her gaze dropped to her hands, her fingers trembling slightly. "I didn't know everything," she began hesitantly, "but there were nights he would call me, talk about the pressure of life weighing him down. He was so private, yet I could hear the cracks in his voice, shadows he was trying to conceal." "What kind of pressure?" The words slipped out, edged with raw urgency. "What was he hiding? Was it about us?" "No," she said quickly, her eyes wide, glistening with unshed tears. "It was about everything: his job, his family. He felt like he had to be the one holding everything together, and nobody could know how much it was costing him. Why didn't he tell me?" The knot in my stomach twisted painfully. "I thought we were there for each other. Sometimes the best intentions are buried in fear. He didn't want to drag you into his darkness. He thought he could protect you." Her voice faltered, and I could see the tether of their acquaintance had drawn tighter in this moment. I pressed my fingertips to the bridge of my nose, willing the tide of tears not to spill. "But what does this mean? If he was suffering," and I never knew, the words crumbled under the weight of realization. "Maybe he didn't want to burden you," Lily whispered. "But that doesn't mean he didn't care for you deeply." A silence hung in the air, heavy like unspoken words trapped between us. I could feel the grief threatening to breach the dam ID built around my heart. Yet, amid the pain, an ember of understanding glowed softly. Andrew had grappled with shadows I had never seen, and perhaps that made my love for him all the more fragile and precious. I wiped away a burgeoning tear. My phone buzzed yet again, snapping my focus back to the screen. The unknown number again. A sense of dread enveloped me as my hand hovered over the screen, trembling slightly. I hesitated, looking at Lily, searching for any sign of what to do. "Open it," she urged softly, her voice a lifeline in the overwhelming darkness. With a deep, shaky breath, I finally pressed the message open. A single line materialized, chilling me to the bone. "He didn't just fight his demons alone. There's so much more you need to understand." The implications loomed like storm clouds over my head, each word pregnant with revelation. It felt as if the ground beneath me had vanished, replaced by a void that beckoned with uncertainty. My voice emerged as barely a whisper, caught between fear and confusion. "Who is this? Someone who cared about him. Someone who knows things, that there may have been more than just struggles with mental health buried beneath the surface." I felt Lily's eyes on me, sensing the shift, the increasing tension as I processed what I'd just read. In all my moments of pain, now another layer of heartbreak unfolded. Andrew had left behind more than just memories. He had left a maze of mysteries, each dead end threatening to swallow me whole. Before I could utter another word, the cafe door swung open, allowing a rush of chilling wind to snarl around us. In walked a familiar silhouette draped in shadows, dawned in sadness, and yet somehow unmistakably Andrew's brother, Daniel. The room seemed to collapse in on itself as he approached, his face pale but determined. "I need to talk to you about Andrew." The intensity in his eyes mirrored the turmoil I felt within. I could barely breathe. The weight of everything, his struggles, the unknowns, the haunting grief collapsed upon my shoulders. It was a heart-wrenching moment suspended in time, and as our gazes locked, the possibility of deeper heartache hung just beyond us, waiting to reveal itself. In that breathless instant, I knew the real story was about to fracture open, spilling all its secrets, shattering the fragile peace I had clung to, and all I could do was brace myself for the impact. The tremor in Daniel's voice echoed in the silence of the cafe, an uninvited guest that had found the thread of my life pulled taut. I had often heard whispers of sibling bonds, but standing before Andrew's brother felt like staring into a mirror reflecting burdens I had yet to comprehend. "What do you know?" I managed to ask, my throat thick with anticipation and dread. Daniel pulled out a chair, the screech of wood against the floor breaking the moment's tension. He sat down across from me, his expression a blend of sorrow and resolve. I don't really know where to start. He looked down, his breath hitching slightly. Andrew didn't just struggle with his mental health. There were things in our family that made it harder, secrets that haunted him. A pang of anguish echoed through me. My heart raced in rhythm, with each revelation like a countdown to catastrophe. I gestured for him to continue, fighting to hold space for whatever darkness was about to unfurl. When we were kids, he began, staring into the distance as if tracing back through the years. Our father was different. He had this fire inside him, a passion for life, for art, but he also had this darkness, this anger that could explode at any moment. It left Andrew feeling like he was always tiptoeing around a minefield. That fear never left him, even when he became an adult. Daniel's voice trembled as he spoke, and amidst my turmoil, I felt an unexpected surge of empathy for him. I never knew. I can't believe Andrew felt this way, I said, my words laced with disbelief. Was he still dealing with it? Daniel nodded, a small quiver of regret lining his features. He tried to come to terms with it, but that shadow loomed larger than life. I think he felt responsible for protecting everyone from it, as if that would redeem the chaos our family had experienced. But it only deepened his silence. My heart sank further into darkness as I fought against the pull of despair. What do you mean, protecting everyone? After our mom passed, he took on that role even more. He thought he had to be the man of the house, caring for me, making sure I didn't fall apart. It crushed him, and he didn't want you to see any of that, to think any less of him. Daniel's words dripped with anguish, breaking open the remnants of a childhood spent in feared as I absorbed this. A fleeting moment of hope sparked within me. But there must have been things he could have shared, things that would have made it easier for him. He could have leaned on me, I said, my voice breaking. We were meant to be partners in this, that he believed he was sparing you the burden, Daniel replied, his eyes filled with a mixture of pain and understanding. But in doing so, he shut you out completely. And that's not a reflection of how he valued you. It was the armor he thought would keep you safe. The statement stood a sharp reminder of the barriers we erect to shield those we love. Yet beneath the grief, I sensed a flicker of something unexpected, connection. Daniel and I were bound by lost two souls navigating an ocean of sorrow that had swept Andrew away. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed again, its aggressive vibration drawing my attention. A surge of anxiety flooded me as I lifted it to see another message. You still don't know the whole story. Meet me where it all began. 8 p.m. He's reaching out again, I stammered, glancing at Daniel, my mind swirling with the implications of the texts. What do I do? Who is this person? Daniel's brow furrowed, his urgency palpable. You need to find out. There's more to Andrew's story, and you deserve to know. He'll come with you. My heart skipped a beat at the solidarity in his offer. It felt like a lifeline in the midst of raging turmoil. Just as I was about to agree, a shadow fell over our table. Lily, hovering anxiously behind Daniel, that I overheard. She murmured, an apologetic edge to her voice. And I think you need to be careful. If someone is contacting you with these sorts of threats, it might not be safe. The unease in her voice only intensified the gravity of the situation. This wasn't just about Andrew. It was spiraling into territory wrapped in shadows. As I looked between Daniel and Lily, torn between grief and the pull of curiosity, something deep within me urged me forward that I need to know. My statement was a thin whisper, filled with conviction tinted by fear. Whatever it takes, I have to uncover the truth about Andrew, about everything. Daniel leaned in closer, the weight of his promise heavy in the air. Then let's do this. He'll be there for you. In that very moment, I realized that I wasn't as alone as I feared. Together, perhaps we could navigate this labyrinth of heartbreak and uncover the beautiful yet devastating love story that needed to be told. But amidst our fragile alliance, uncertainty loomed, like dark clouds gathering on the horizon. Just as dismissal flirted with hope, my phone buzzed once more, a final message from the unknown sender. My heart seized when I read the chilling words. They all knew. You're not ready for the truth. A raw shiver of fear broke over me, fresh and agonizing. Reality splintered around me as Daniel's grip on my hand tightened, reassured yet uncertain. We were standing on the precipice of something profound and traumatic, a journey towards answers that could shatter everything we thought we knew. And as I looked into Daniel's eyes, I met a mirror of my own turmoil, preparing to unearth the roots of heartbreak that could forever change our lives. The chill of the cafe clung to me, draping over my shoulders like an unwelcome cloak. Daniel's hand remained warm around mine, an anchor to the tumultuous sea of uncertainty that threatened to swallow me whole. The reality of that message gnawed at my insides, a relentless reminder that not all truths were meant to be found. "We should go," I said abruptly, my voice barely breaking through the haze of fear and confusion swirling around us. "We need to meet whoever this is, but not without a plan." "I can't risk what?" Daniel asked, his brow furrowed as the corner of his mouth quirked into a half-smile, an unexpected weapon against my anxiety. "You don't have to bear this burden alone. I'm here, remember? We can face whatever this is together." His reassurance was like sunlight peeking through dense clouds, illuminating the path ahead just enough for me to take the next step. I breathed in deeply, feeling the familiar sense of connection with him amidst the chaos that ultimately resonated with our shared understanding of Andrew's silent struggles. Before we could leave, Lily shifted restlessly behind Daniel, her voice trembling. Maybe it's a good idea if I come, too. I can help you think of questions or assess the situation." The urgency in her demeanor sparked a flicker of dependence within me. I didn't want anyone caught in my endeavors any more than they already had been, but a part of me ached for the strength in numbers. I nodded slowly. "Okay, the more eyes on this, the better." The air around us crackled with tension as we exited the cafe, the winding streets of the city draped in twilight shadows. The delicate breeze carried the scent of damp earth and impending rain, nature's warning of the storm brewing inside and out. As we wandered toward the agreed-upon meeting point, I wrestled with a whirlpool of emotions. Anxiety twisted into dread, asking what unknown horrors lay waiting for me. And yet, beneath it, a thread of stubborn resilience wove through my heart, the same resilience I had seen in Andrew, the same drive that propelled me to seek the truth no matter how painful it would be. Suddenly, Daniel stopped, looking down at a small, weathered park bench where we had once shared laughter on carefree afternoons. "You know," he said quietly, his gaze drifting into the distance as if searching the horizon for long-lost memories, "Andrew loved this spot. He used to say it was the only place he felt completely free, like no shadows could touch him here. He would talk about his dreams for the future." The sorrow in his voice wrapped around me like a gentle caress, igniting the embers of a shared nostalgia. My heart ached for the brother who suffered beneath a mask of courage, the one who had chased dreams in this very spot, only to have them dashed by a reality weighed down with grief. "Do you think he found that freedom?" I asked, suddenly unsure of whether I wanted to know the answer. Daniel hesitated, pulling me from my reverie. "I think he found a version of it. But the ghosts always lingered, you know? The past has a way of following us. We're just now starting to unearth those ghosts, and I fear what they'll tell us." A silence enveloped us as dread and hope tangled tightly, refusing to yield to either. I squeezed Daniel's hand as we resumed walking, my thoughts frenetic, my pulse quickening at the thought of facing whatever awaited us. Finally, we approached the agreed rendezvous, an old warehouse that grandiosity had long since forgotten. Dimly lit by rusted streetlights, the structure loomed large and ominous, the echo of our footsteps amplifying the weight of approaching uncertainty. "I don't like this," Lily muttered under her breath, looking apprehensively at the looming shadows. "We should go back." But before she could finish her urgent plea, a figure emerged from the darkness. My heart plummeted as I recognized the familiar outline. It was Thomas, Andrew's old friend, the one I hadn't seen since the funeral. A shocking wave of familiarity washed over me, mingling with disbelief. "What are you doing here?" I asked, words surging forth despite the turmoil beneath. He stepped forward, eyes wide with an urgency I hadn't seen before. "I'm here because I need to tell you everything," he said, voice low and urgent. "You think you're ready, but you're not. You need to prepare yourself for what's coming." "Prepare for what?" I shot back, anxiety twisting in my stomach. But before he could respond, the warehouse door creaked open wider, revealing an inner darkness so impenetrable, it felt like a portal to another realm, a realm filled not only with secrets and revelations, but potential devastation. That in that moment, the gravity of the situation enveloped us all. As Daniel grasped my hand tightly, his expression resolute. I realized we were on the brink of unearthing the deepest sorrows of Andrew's life. I took a step toward the looming entrance, propelled by a sense of convergence, the love story, the haunting echoes of ghosts, and the ties that bound us all, threatening to unravel with the flick of a switch. Whatever happens, we face this together, Daniel murmured, squeezing my hand tighter. But as I stared into the abyss, a sudden realization pierced through me. The one truth I hadn't prepared for hung in the air like a tempest ready to unleash its fury. Thomas' expression, riddled with a burden far heavier than words could convey. The possibilities were endless, but the heart of this beautiful love story had begun to fracture, leaving me standing at the cusp of uncovering a haunting truth that could irrevocably change everything. The door to the warehouse groaned as it reluctantly swung open, revealing the shadows that danced like restless spirits within. The chilling atmosphere stung with the scent of metal and desolation, a far cry from the vibrant laughter that had once graced those infallible moments shared with Andrew. My heart raced, each beat echoing my trepidation as I turned to face Thomas, his eyes brimming with unspoken fears. "Why now, Thomas?" I pressed, my voice barely a whisper. "What do you know?" He hesitated, glancing over his shoulder as if expecting the shadows themselves to come alive at his words. "It's about Andrew. There's so much you don't understand." We all thought he was struggling with the same things. "But stop," Lily interjected, her voice sharp. "If you know something that could help us understand what he went through, you need to tell us. No more vague hints." Thomas' shoulders slumped under the weight of her challenge. "Fine," he relented, his voice cracking under the gravity of his confession. "I found something after the funeral. A journal, hidden in his room. I didn't know how to show it to you then, but it contained everything he couldn't say, his fears, his dreams, and the darkness that consumed him." My breath hitched, the air thick with unspoken pain. "Where is it?" I demanded, my resolve mixing with dread. "We need that journal. It might hold the answers we've been searching for." "It's locked away in a safe," he replied, a flicker of anguish flashing across his face. "I thought maybe I could bring it to you, but it felt wrong without you first knowing. Just promise me you'll be ready, because it reveals more than just Andrew's thoughts. It might shatter the image you have of him." Daniel's grip on my hand tightened, as if sensing my unraveling resolve. "We want to know the truth, no matter how painful," he said, his voice steady and firm against the riptide of uncertainty threatening to pull us under. I nodded, steeling myself for whatever revelations lay ahead. "Show us. We have to face it together." With a deep breath, Thomas nodded and gestured for us to follow him further into the warehouse, the faint glow of flickering lights outlining the path. An oppressive silence fell as we walked, each footstep reverberating against the concrete walls, resonating with my growing fear. As we ventured deeper into the treacherous depths of the warehouse, I noticed a glimmer of paint peeling off the walls, remnants of laughter etched in graffiti that seemed to cling desperately to memories long lost. I felt an overwhelming sense of nostalgia wash over me, painful yet sweet. These were the shadows of Andrew's youth, hints of the boy whose dreams had spiraled into something unrecognizable. "Right this way," Thomas murmured, gesturing toward a stairwell leading down into darkness. "The basement is where he spent most of his time in those last months. It's extensive. He created a space for himself, a retreat, I suppose. But it quickly transformed into something else." I glanced at Daniel and Lily, uncertainty mirrored in their eyes. Slowly, we descended, the air growing damp and heavy with anticipation. Each step felt like a plunge further into the abyss of Andrew's reality, the familiarity of his laughter overshadowed by the sound of silence, which echoed painfully in our ears. The basement opened up into a small room, cluttered yet oddly inviting. Mismatched furniture surrounded a desk overflowing with art supplies, drawings, and a hollowed-out guitar that gleamed like a beacon of creativity beside an empty canvas. But at the center of it all, perched precariously on an old wooden chest, was a small, unassuming laptop. "His safe is behind that wall," Thomas explained, gesturing toward a dilapidated space that appeared deceptively innocuous. "It's where he kept the journal on a flash drive. But be careful. I can't explain it all now, but the deeper you dig, the more dangerous it becomes." A chill coursed through me. "Dangerous? I mean, the truth is not what you expect." ITLL change everything you thought you knew about him and about each other. At that moment, the faint crackle of electricity sparked through the room, and a sudden realization dawned upon me. This wasn't simply about uncovering Andrew's hidden struggles, this was about confronting our own. The weight of unresolved issues loomed large, casting long shadows that stripped bare the paths we had all taken, revealing the cracks in our own lives embedded in Andrew's story that I won't turn back, I declared firmly, locking eyes with Daniel, who stood resolute next to me. We can't let fear dictate our pursuit of the truth. Just then, a loud noise echoed from somewhere in the warehouse, like thunder crashing through the stillness. We all froze, wide-eyed and breathless. What was that? Lily asked, her voice shaky. Thomas was already pulling us closer, his face taut with urgency. We need to hurry. If whoever took the journal is still here. Before he could finish, the shadows shifted, and I caught a glimpse of movement from the corner of my eye, a figure emerging from within the depths of the darkness, cloaked and shadowy. The room felt suffocatingly small as fear surged back into our hearts like a slingshot, pulling us toward the unknown. The looming figure took a step closer, silhouetted against the dim lights, and a wild thought crossed my mind. What if this was the orchestrator of our heartbreak all along? A confrontation was imminent, and I had the sinking feeling that the truth was about to lay bare its fangs. Just as I prepared for what was to come, the figure spoke, their voice low and hauntingly familiar. You shouldn't have come here. You're not ready for the truth. None of you are. My stomach dropped, the weight of recognition crashing over me in a tidal wave. The uncertainty I had fought to conquer was only beginning to mutate into a terror I never could have anticipated. What did you mean? But I received no answer. Only a darkened grin appeared as the figure stepped forward, ready to unlock the gateway of our shared tragedia revelation that would bind us to our past in a way none of us ever expected. The figure stepped closer, the shadows clinging to them like a second skin. My heart raced as I tried to make out familiar features hidden within the folds of darkness. Who are you? I demanded, my voice trembling more than I intended. With a slow, deliberate movement, the figure pulled back the hood of a battered jacket, revealing an unmistakable face, one I hadn't dared to hope I would see again. It's me, Caroline. I'm back. The world spun around me, a kaleidoscope of unchained emotions amalgamating into a whirlwind of disbelief and confusion. Caroline. My heart swelled at the mere syllable of her name, yet an equal measure of dread coursed through my veins. You, how is this possible? Everyone thought you were gone. You disappeared after the accident. She stepped fully into the flickering light, and I could see the marks of time etched across her once vibrant features. Deep lines carved around her eyes told stories of pain I could scarcely imagine. I had to leave, for my own safety, for yours. There were things I couldn't share, things I didn't understand then. But I've learned so much since about Andrew, about all of us. I needed to warn us. About what? Lily interjected, crossing her arms defensively. You disappeared when we needed you the most, and now you show up cloaked in mystery? Haven't we lost enough? Caroline's expression faltered, pain flashing in her eyes like lightning before a storm. I know, and I'm sorry. But you have to trust me. The journal, it holds more than just Andrew's thoughts. It's a map to a truth darker than any of us can endure alone. I wouldn't have come back if I thought it wasn't necessary. Daniel stepped forward, his expression fierce yet wavering. You owe it to us to explain. Our lives have been torn apart, and your absence was part of that. We can't go back to the way things were. We need to know what you've uncovered. That a heavy silence fell, each of us wrestling the weight of grief, betrayal, and unresolved emotions swirling between us. The flickering lights struggled to maintain a semblance of ambience and hope, but it all felt so fragile, teetering on the edge of despair. Caroline took a deep breath, collecting herself. I've been following shadows, just like you. Andrew was never alone in his darkness. There were forces at play that none of you were aware of. People, dangerous people. And they're still out there. They need to keep the truth hidden at all costs. What truth? I pressed, my heart pounding as if trying to escape this nightmare. Everything, she said. The journal contains details of a plan. Andrew discovered something larger than his own struggles. He wanted to protect you all, but in doing so, he painted a target on his back. A chill trickled down my spine. Target? What kind of target? Why should we trust you? Haven't you sensed it? She replied, her voice becoming urgent. The odd looks, the whispers when you walked past, the unease. They don't just want Andrew's story, they want to erase all of us. I didn't come back to drag you into danger. I came to help you escape it. The notion hung in the air like a thunderstorm poised to break. I could feel Daniel's hand reaching for mine, seeking a lifeline amid this tumult of emotion and confusion. So what do? He asked, his unwavering support anchoring me despite the surfacing tide of fear that we need to get the journal. The key to understanding hangs in that safe. But time is running out. Caroline's eyes darted toward the darkness outside, filled with frantic urgency that propelled my pulse into overdrive. They'll know I'm back. They'll come looking. And then what? I asked, the practicality of our situation ceaselessly tumbling through my mind, fighting a war against the tumult of my heart. We can't just unearth skeletons without dealing with the ghosts haunting us. True, she conceded, a hint of the warmth I remembered sparking back in her gaze. But maybe the skeletons are not just his. We all have our shadows. Confronting Andrew's truth might be our only path to confronting our own and uncovering the strength we didn't think we had. Beneath the weight of her words, a flicker of hope ignited, mingling with lingering confusion. The walls of our grief might be rebounding, but now, perhaps, there was a means to break through. Whatever lay ahead, I could sense we somehow needed to navigate this together. Then let's get it, I said, my voice finding new strength. Together, we faced the truth whatever it may cost. The air hung thick with unspoken commitment, a fragile bond weaving us together as we prepared to forge onward. But deep inside, that gnawing uncertainty persisted, tightening like a noose. Would we be ready for what we found? And could the truth truly set us free or merely bind us tighter to the ones we lost? As we moved towards the safe, the footsteps outside grew louder, a cruel reminder of the ticking clock closing in on us, the shadows swirling like an impending storm ready to unleash its wrath. And then, as I reached for the safe's latch, a deafening bang resonated from behind us. The lights flickered, plunging us into darkness for a terrifying heartbeat. And amid the cacophony, the realization loomed larger than life. We might not only confront the truth, we might become victims of it too. As the echoes of the bang reverberated around us, my heart raced. The room seemed to constrict, shadows twisting into ominous figures as we grappled with the weight of what lay ahead. I turned toward Caroline, her face a mask of clarity mixed with fear. What was that? My voice quavered, but I didn't wait for an answer. We have to move now, she urged, her hands latching onto mine with an urgency that ignited my resolve. Lily and Daniel exchanged wide-eyed glances, caught between instinct and uncertainty. Shouldn't we stay together? Daniel asked, his curiosity still intact even in this moment of chaos. There's no time. They're coming, Caroline insisted, her voice regaining the authority that had once captivated us. The journalist's our best chance. With a shared determination that stilled the voice of doubt within me, I nodded. We would face whatever came next together, although every moment felt pregnant with dread. We scrambled toward the safe, frantic fingers probing for the key's hiding place, the noise of my heart drowning out everything else. When the latch finally opened, a gust of stale air billowed out, carrying with it the dust of forgotten memories. I reached inside and felt the textured leather of Andrew's journal beneath my fingertips. As I pulled it free, the lights flickered again, casting shards of pale illumination across the pages. But I didn't stop to read. My focus remained on the others. We have it. Now what? Get to the back exit, Caroline snapped, glancing towards the door. If they come in through the front, we'll be trapped. Panic surged, accompanied by an instinctual urge to protect one another, to embrace the truth that had eluded us so long. Let's go, I said, my voice steady despite the tempest of emotions rising in me. We dashed through the narrow corridor, hearts pounding as if they might burst from our chests. Every footstep felt like a countdown, suspense hanging in the air as we neared the door. But just as we reached for the handle, it flew open, revealing a figure cloaked in shadow, imposing and menacing. The breath hitched in my throat as recognition struck like a lightning bolt. It was Nathan Andrews' closest friend, the one who had grappled with unshed tears at his funeral, grief twisting his features. But this wasn't the Nathan I remembered. His smile had vanished, replaced by a grim intensity that chilled me to the bone. "What are you doing here?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper, yet sharp enough to cut through the tension. "We're getting the journal," I replied, defensive yet wary. "You need to stay out of this, Nathan. It's too dangerous." He shook his head slowly, the conflict warring in his eyes. "You don't understand. I need the journal too. It's not just Andrew's past, it's about all of us. They know you're back, Caroline. They're not just hunting you. They're hunting all of us." "What do you mean?" Daniel stepped forward, his bravado wavering under Nathan's grave look. "The group that came for Andrew'll come for you too. They know the journal's alive with secrets, and they're hunting anyone who's tied to it." Nathan paused, his shoulders visibly relaxing, as if preparing to share a burden long borne alone. "They think you know more than you do. I've seen it. You have to trust me." "Trust is in short supply these days," Caroline replied coldly, stepping closer to form a barrier of protection around us. But something deep inside me stirred with the prospect of Nathan revealing his knowledge. "I lost Andrew too. I need to finish what he started," Nathan pleaded, his eyes pleading, the raw emotion pouring out of them like an open wound. Before I could voice my uncertainty, footsteps echoed from the entrance, gaining momentum with each second. "We don't have time," I blurted. "We can't just stand here." In a flash of desperation, I could hear Caroline's heart beating next to mine, a steady drum of determination that called to my own. "We'll have to trust him, even if just for a moment. We need help. Whatever he knows, we'll figure it out together." Just as the door swung ominously, casting dark shadows into the room, there was a sudden, crashing sound down the hall, and the figure of a man, tall and imposing, caught my eye. Nathan's eyes widened. "They're here," he spat, stepping in front of us. Without thought, our group instinctively retreated backward, hearts hammering as adrenaline surged. I clutched the journal tightly, feeling its weight as the room dissolved further into chaos. "Listen," Nathan's voice cut through the panic. "You can trust me. I know the route. We can evade them." In that moment of charged uncertainty, I felt the journal heat under my grasp, reality tangling with the truth we needed to uncover. But clarity felt just beyond our reach, and that shadowy figure was advancing, predatory in his intent. As we turned to make our escape, Nathan's voice echoed behind us, desperation mounting. "The truth won't wait for us. The only way forward is through the secrets of our past." Just as we sprinted through the door, an ear-splitting crack reverberated, creating a moment where time hung suspended. I turned to glimpse Nathan as he faced the threat alone, energy shifting between him and the encroaching figures. And then, with a single shattering moment, my world twisted once more. A revelation tore through me like a searing flame. If the truth was as dangerous as Nathan claimed, then what dark legacy did Andrew's journal truly hide? With Nathan's figure blurring into the chaos, one thought anchored in my mind: the next truth we uncovered might cost us everything we had left. I didn't know how long we ran. The corridor twisted and turned like a nightmare come to life, every step echoing desperation as we pursued a path defined by shadows and fear. With each surge of adrenaline, I felt the weight of Andrew's journal in my hand, a tangible connection to the secrets it held even as it grew heavier, reminding me of the burden it represented. Our breaths came in ragged gasps, hearts pounding in sync as we barreled toward the back exit. Adrenaline coursed through my veins, propelling us faster than our minds could process. I could hear the thunderous footsteps behind us, their presence looming like a dark threat growing ever closer. "Here," Caroline shouted, her voice slicing through the chaos as we approached a rusty door at the end of the corridor. I rushed to twist the handle, willing it to yield as panic clawed at my chest. The door creaked open, revealing an alleyway obscured by darkness. "Go," Daniel urged, shoving me ahead. We piled through, barely registering the looming shadows behind us, driven by instinct rather than thought. But just as we stumbled into the alley, the door slammed shut, abruptly halting our escape. "Where do we go?" Lily's voice trembled, the fear in her eyes reflecting the swirling uncertainty. I looked around frantically, searching for anything that could offer us a path away from the encroaching dread. "Up," Caroline pointed to a fire escape at the far end of the alley, a narrow metal ladder disappearing into the night like a promise of hope. Without hesitation, I sprinted forward, clawing at the rungs as our hands moved in sync with sheer desperation. Daniel and Lily followed closely behind, shadows beneath the sparse streetlights. When we reached the top, we pulled ourselves onto the rooftop, panting as my heart thundered in my ears. "You think they'll follow?" Daniel asked, scanning the streets below where flickering lights illuminated confusion. Shadows moved restlessly, seeking a target that wouldn't be found. A fleeting moment of safety. It doesn't matter, I said, trembling hands clutching the journal. "We need to know what's in here. If Andrew's story intertwines with ours, we must face it." I gazed down at the leather-bound journal, its once pristine cover marred by the weight of undisclosed truths. The fear wrapped tightly around me loosened slightly, giving way to the need for answers as I opened it. I could practically hear Andrew's voice, the essence of his spirit whispering through the pages, begging me to understand. The pages flipped open to a dog-eared letter and a series of journal entries that chronicled a descent into darkness filled with moments of unfiltered vulnerability. Each word struck my heart like a dagger, unearthing the concealed depths of his pain. He didn't just struggle with fleeting shadows. He wrestled with demons that haunted him relentlessly. "Listen to this," I exclaimed, my voice steadying as I read aloud. "I'm scared that if I show her what's underneath, they'll push her away. The weight of these secrets is crushing me, but I need to be strong. I can't let them see me falter." In that moment, I felt Exposeed had left behind a piece of himself that intertwined our stories in a manner that was both harrowing and beautiful. I thought of the days leading up to our separation, wondering how much of what he was going through had remained hidden in plain sight. How many signs I had ignored in my own heartache. Caroline, Daniel, and Lily crowded around, each captivated by Andrew's raw honesty. I sensed their presence beside me, the tether of shared grief binding us together. "He never wanted to burden us," Lily whispered, tears glimmering in her eyes. "But it's a burden we all shared." As I flipped through the pages, the narrative unfolded with vivid detail of a secret organization Andrew had stumbled upon, whose shadowy influence reached far beyond his understanding. "They weren't just targeting him," I explained, voice trembling with disbelief. "They were after him because he uncovered something hidden." "Hidden?" Daniel echoed, urgency spilling from his expression. What? What did he find?" I rifled through the pages until I discovered a series of names that made my blood run cold. Individuals linked to powerful connections and the kind of darkness Andrew had been trying to expose. This is what they wanted to keep quiet," I murmured. With every name I read, the encroaching threats swirled in the pit of my stomach, the very essence of fear coiling tighter. Nathan's face appeared in my mind, reflecting his own struggle, the shadows he hadn't resolved. The realization hit me hard, that his betrayal layered within our shared grief was ultimately a reflection of silenced pain. "If we confront this," I said, swallowing hard, "we need to start with not just Andrew's truth, but our own. All of us together, and no matter what it costs us," Caroline added, conviction ringing in her voice. "We may have lost ourselves in this chaos, but we have each other, and that means everything." The distance between us closed, the shared spark igniting a flame of resilience amid despair. My heart swelled with the prospect that while the truth may prove painful, it also held the potential for healing, a chance to face our demons instead of allowing them to bind us. Suddenly, a sharp noise broke through the stillness, a loud bang against the rooftop access door. The echoes of footsteps thundered up the stairs, crashing over the silence we had briefly cultivated. "They found us," Lily gasped, and I felt the flutter of uncertainty grip me once more. "Go. We have to move," Daniel yelled, but as we readied to flee, my heart sunk at the impending confrontation looming before us. Out of the shadows emerged Nathan's silhouette, breathless yet resolute. "I'm on your side," he insisted, eyes pleading for my trust amidst the derision of uncertainty. "You can't do this without knowing what they're capable of." Something shifted within me as his voice cut through the chaos, a flicker of recognition for the bond born from our shared grief. "Then tell us," I stated firmly, the journal still gripped tightly in my other hand. "What do you know?" "We will not stand down anymore." That he stepped closer, lowering his voice as urgency etched itself into his features. "There's a meeting they're preparing for, a briefing to eliminate anyone who poses a threat to their cause. Andrew was just the beginning, and now that you have his journal, they'll come for you, too." A chill filled the air, and I met Daniel's gaze, realizing the connections began to weave into something larger than ourselves. Together, we were caught in a web of revelations that expanded far beyond our understanding. But deep down, fear twisted into resolvia, fierce determination to break free from the chains of silence. "What are we waiting for?" I announced, voice steadied with purpose. I took a deep breath, feeling the warmth of my friends around me. "Let's uncover the whole truth. If they want to silence us, we'll find our voices together." With resolve coursing through me, I turned back to the journal, ready to flesh out the details that could lead us forward, our memories, our pain, our shared burdens becoming the key to facing a future defined not by secrets, but by open hearts. As the stars pierced the darkness above me, a brilliant tapestry shimmering against the deep blue horizon, I smiled through the pain that had threaded through my heart. For the first time in the chaos, I felt unshackled, aware that regardless of what lay ahead, I was prepared to face it with my friends by my side. And as I looked out into the night, the weight of everything we had lost anchored me to one undeniable truth. Love, in all its intricate forms, was seldom perfect, but when embraced courageously, it became an unyielding light through the darkest times. "This is not the end," I whispered, clutching Andrew's journal. "This is only the beginning."